Plants, the green frontier. These are the discussions of the podcast Horticult. Its continuing mission to talk about strange new cultivars, to seek out new flowers and plant them, to boldly garden like no one has before. All right, this is Beef Flame from the Horticult. What's happening, everybody? On this episode of the podcast, me and Brad sit down and talk about drainage. We've had a lot of rain in Utah lately. We go over the numbers. We talk about some ways on how to get rid of standing water in your yard. So have a listen, and we'll see you on the other side. Let's get it on. I'm Beef Flame.
I am B-Rad.
And we are the Horticult. Thanks for coming along for the ride.
All right.
On this episode of the podcast, we're going to talk about drainage, standing water. Utah has been hit with rain and water like we've never seen before. No, that's not true.
Well,
in a long time, in a very long time, we have not had this much water.
And not just Utah, but I think there's plenty of places that have just been getting jacked up, you know, as far as like mucho agua.
Yeah. I mean, we need it for sure.
Yeah.
Because, 5-year drought? Something like that? 3-4-year drought?
No, I think it jumps back and forth. A well-watered year, you know, and then there's a drought year and whatnot. But by saying that, it's very important that we stock the mountains full of snow, right?
Right, totally. The reports out there were really good. None of the mountain, like the snowpacks for this time of year, average-wise, was below 100%. Everything was over 100%.
Yeah, and touching into the 200%.
There was actually in like southeastern Utah where it doesn't get any snow.
Yeah,
it was like 1,000% because
now
they're used to getting like an inch or like nothing, and they had like a foot. So
okay. So it's not like 1,000%. I would have to. Man, that seems like maybe they put too many zeros on that.
That's what the conservancy, the Water Conservancy District came out with the numbers.
Yeah.
So I was like, whoa, sweet, cool, right on.
So you're saying that like Lake Powell is going to fill up in 1 year?
No.
It's 100 feet deep.
No.
100 feet low. Okay.
Because they're used to having super aridness, and then they have a little bit. So compared to the average of this time of year, it's ridiculously high.
Got it.
But
so we average like 14 inches a year along the Wasatch Front. Then you're dropping down into the desert areas.
So you're saying they average in that region like an inch, and they have like
12.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just open air. I don't know exactly. I can't remember which one they said. It was. I think it said southeastern Utah. But
the San Juan area of the...
Yeah. Maybe I could find it. So you go ahead and talk.
The Abajo Mountain
about
range
drainage.
Like
I thought I shared it.
Oh, yeah. So drainage. I mean, this is a really important topic to consider with all of the rain that we're getting, right? And if we're talking about landscapes in particular... How can we maximize the water that we're getting that's like dropping on, from our rooftop down the downspouts, if you have them? This is an opportunity for people to capture some of that water and use it for later. And you are kind of the resident expert on the downspout collecting system.
Yeah.
So if you want to give us just a little
shout
out about that.
Did do a little video on YouTube about how to install a rain collecting barrel. So a rain barrel, and there's only like a couple components that you need. So it needs a stand on it. So it needs to get high because how it moves the water out of the hose is by gravity.
Okay.
So the higher you have it, the quicker or the more pressure is built up behind it.
So the more versatility that you have to get it from one side of your yard to the other.
So mine is just barely high enough that I can hold my hose standing in my front yard. My rain barrels are in the back to water what I need to water. Like if I brought it up to my shoulder, it wouldn't run.
Okay.
So it always has to have a downflow.
What's the what's the optimum like distance to depth, or what would you even call that? Like an inch for every or 10 feet that you want to have it an inch high.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I actually had mine higher, but I was having issues with my diverter, which that's another part of it. So the downspout, you cut into the downspout and you put a diverter. What the diverter is it diverts it into the rain barrel, but when the rain barrel fills up, it allows the downspout to just function like there's nothing there.
Okay.
Because we've had issues with my parents' one where it was the full downspout was going into the barrel and it was filling up the barrel really quickly, and then it was just like overflowing, and it was
that's
not good. So having a diverter is excellent because then you can have it function normally, and it's part of the winterization part of it. And they're really cheap. I think it was like $20, $30.
And can you attach more than just one 55-gallon barrel to this apparatus?
I have.
system?
You can connect as many as you want. Like, we're only allowed to have so much rain collecting on your property in Utah. I think it's now 200 gallons. It used to be only 100. Mm-hmm. Now I think it's 200 gallons.
At any one time, it's 200 gallons.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's kind of hard to regulate that. Like, how would the city or the state know that you're collecting more than 200 gallons?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, anyway, I have 2 barrels. They're 55 gallons each, and I can go through that pretty quickly, actually. So it's not a lot of water.
So if you see somebody show up on the front step with a badge,
Yeah.
the water collecting police, run out the back, open the plug at the bottom of that, and drain it out quickly.
Yeah, get it out.
Yeah.
No, well, like, I think Cynthia brought it up. Okay. Cynthia B talked about how it's just going to waste because the water that we use comes from the mountains. Mm-hmm. So it goes into the rivers, and there's still some that is leached out, and we lose some of that water. But the rain that falls on our houses is just going down the storm drain. It's going to the lake. We don't use that water. I mean, the lake needs it for that environment.
So it charges the groundwater. So those who have wells that we know of, yet.
That's a good point.
But I get it. I get the point.
They have changed the law, as far as I know.
So the idea and the focal point really is how can we harness some of that water and save some of it? How can we also divert some of that water away from our house so that it doesn't cause and create damage?
Right.
Yeah, damage as far as flooding, right?
So one of the reasons that I did install my rain barrels was to try to mitigate some of the flow to my yard, because I have a low spot in my yard. I get all 4 houses that are connected in the 4 corners of my house. It all collects.
So all the neighbors contribute to your.
Yes. So it's a lot harder to deal with because I have 4 times the amount that anyone else does. So I'm dealing with a swamp in my backyard. My neighbor's growing the swamp grass or whatever. What is it?
Oh, the Phragmites.
Phragmites.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm worried about Phragmites getting into my yard. So it's just a cluster back there. So I'm dealing with that right now on how to get that out. Usual rainfall accumulation, I could empty my barrels and it'll fill up and I won't have any issues. Other times, it just is not adequate, and I've kind of building up slowly what I have to do in tiers. So I did the rain barrels. That didn't quite clear everything out. I've dug ditches. I didn't quite do everything. I did French drain. It wasn't enough. I was just trying to leach it, have more of a surface area for it to leach into. That didn't work. So now I'm installing a dry well system to get it out of my backyard, trying to get it to the front yard through pipes and
so it's
things.
Like a redirecting. It's a process of redirecting.
Yeah.
It's called a dry barrel.
A dry well.
Dry well, okay.
The company that I bought the well from is Flowwell, I think.
Yeah. See, and I'll bet that's kind of a unique piece of equipment here because, one, we get very little rainfall. So on a drought year, you'd never really need to utilize this piece of equipment. But this is a unique year, my friends.
Yeah, we got hammered.
Yeah. And we may not be in the clear. We don't know. I personally, not to throw any shade your way, but man, I hope it keeps coming. I freaking love the rain. So anyway, drainage. So yeah, you talked about some trenching. Obviously, my first thought is French drains or trenching.
Yep.
And you're always going to backfill with some kind of like a rocky mulch, gravelly type stuff.
Describe a French drain. Because I did it wrong. Well, whatever it was, I did it wrong.
Well, there's many different ideas of that. For me, it's basically at the bottom of your downspout or at the end of the flex tube or hose from the downspout is where you dig a giant basin pit, any size from like my idea is like 2 feet by 2 feet wide in diameter, and then drop it down about 4 feet. Backfill that thing up with gravel, and you're set. And I think for all intents and purposes, that is an adequate size for us. But if you live in a place where you're getting 40 to 60 inches of rain a year, that's the norm. That's not going to be enough. You need to take it to the next level.
I'm finding that out real quick.
Yeah, real quick. So, and you are in a unique situation with you being at the lowest spot of 4 people, and 3 of those you cannot control how much they water. You know what I'm saying? French drain. You've got barrel drain. What's that thing called again?
Dry well.
Dry well. Yeah. Thank you. And I love that concept. I'm pretty psyched about seeing how it actually works. And now you're going to get that all set up.
It's never going to rain.
It's not going to friggin' rain.
It's so
We're going to go into it. Anyway, let's hope that doesn't happen. But I wanted to think of some other ideas as far as drainage that people can do and utilize.
I did watch a YouTube video just barely on. It wasn't a how-to. It wasn't a do-it-yourself. He was like, this was my journey of having a cistern.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it was in Oregon where they get a ton of rain.
Yeah. Well, the one side does.
Yeah, he was on the side that got rain.
Okay, yeah. The western side.
Yeah, it wasn't the Idaho side.
Got it.
It looked really wet.
Okay.
And he had this huge. It was huge. It was like the size of this room.
Oh, a cistern?
Yeah, a cistern. Yeah. And it was
a holding
and
tank,
him putting it together, like purchased one or like put some money down on it, and then the company went out of business, and then he just bought one, and then he figured out how to do it himself, and he was like, it just took years from the process of when it happened to actually get it installed with the pump and having it hooked up to everything. But it was cool. It was fun to watch. It's huge, but they don't bury it. They didn't bury it. It was just out on like a patio,
just on the bottom side of the slope.
I'm not exactly sure why he didn't bury it, because I've heard of it being buried under a lawn or something, and it's filtering in. Like the Utah house has a cistern where that's where they flush their toilet with the water that they capture and recycle it into the yard.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Complicated system.
A couple things that came to mind were plant material. Can you use is there plant material that will benefit from an environment that is more, I don't want to say anaerobic, but just more waterlogged? Totally, yeah. And it's and we could name off a bunch of stuff. I wrote down a bunch of varieties, like the bald cypress and swamp oak and whatever. But for any of you out there, if you're just like, well, what would work? Think about what works relatively well in a riparian area here in Utah. Like what is growing well next to the rivers in the mountains? Dogwoods, cottonwoods, willows.
Red twig dogwoods. Yeah, cottonwoods. I hate cottonwoods. I just posted a thing out on cottonwoods with the stuff floating around and making me itch. Well, anyway, go ahead. I hate cottonwoods.
Another one is the birch. Water birch?
Yeah. River birch.
River birch, yeah. So there are some varieties, but another thing I was thinking about too is plant material wise is that if you can't beat them, join them, and that is like create a bog garden. And the only disadvantage with, well, I'm not even going to bring up the disadvantage point yet, but a bog garden and or pond provides a completely different palette of plants. A lot of people are aware and just not conscious of. Wait, reverse that. Anyway, so yeah, like water lilies, cattails. Some people are like, oh, dude, those are weeds. You know what? If they're containerized, they can be a beautiful specimen. You can totally, when the apocalypse happens, you have like your food storage is in the ground.
Cattails.
Is your cattails. I'm banking on that.
You're in trouble, bro.
It's kind of like this cool palette of plants that a lot of people don't really take advantage of, and adds different interest. Not the same old turf grass and or spireas and mugo pines, but you'll have like this really cool little spot where you can have monkey flower. You've seen that in the mountains, dude. The little yellow flower, monkey flower. You've got options out there, plant wise. Water iris, water lilies, sedge, acarus, water hyacinth. Anyway,
okay, so I found the totals.
Oh, snap.
I don't know if it's really this or not, but this is probably from the last storm. So Thursday, May 30th.
Here's the thing. You've got to take this.
300%.
Yeah. No, I don't.
There's no way.
No, I don't believe that. Like, I just straight
How
up,
is that
like,
even
I
possible?
don't believe that. That's not even.
How is that even possible?
Yeah.
Is it saying it's this whole area, but there's only like a few little towns?
Yeah, personally, I think
that is the source.
Well, dude, I can stamp a guarantee on a box with a junky ass piece of crap.
But see, this is
compared.
This is
guaranteed
average totals, though. This is like compared to the average.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily saying there's that much up there. It's just compared to
normal,
which
is average,
right?
Which is just
it's
regular.
Way over the top.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be curious to see how true that is.
We could have flooding. We could not. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping so. I mean, not at your house.
I'm kind of hoping so.
Yeah, not
what
at
the
your
freak,
house.
man?
Yeah, no, I mean, what I meant is, we're talking about drainage, right? And we're trying to mitigate issues and problems with flooding.
Let me share those numbers with people.
Yeah.
That's some numbers right there, man.
Yeah, no.
I tell you what.
I think it's simply just to get people talking about it.
I mean, I really do hope these numbers are true because I don't want to be in a drought. This doesn't even have the numbers that I was
the thing,
talking
though,
about.
Blaine, is it's not so much
Escalante
wanting to be in a drought.
You want to be in a drought?
No. But like, we are only going to get more and more and more people here, and so we're going to have less and less water. There's no way you could get 10,000%, and that just does not give me any confidence at all. Zero. Oh, just kidding. No, but the point of the matter is, you get it, right? You understand that we just need to conserve and.
Oh, no. I'm not saying this is like, we should like totally water the crap out of
24/7.
Right.
Yeah.
We should follow wise water practices because why waste what we have? I mean, period.
Right.
Who cares if we always get the average? From here on out, we always get the average.
Yep.
And we always have enough water. You still shouldn't waste it.
Because the average will eventually be a deficit. It won't be enough. It's not enough right now. So, yeah.
So if you're not into that, or denier, global warming denier, and then you're in it's a secular, that doesn't sound right either.
Cyclicker.
Yeah, cyclicker. That say it's every 30 years that we have a big old drought. In 30 years, think about the population of Utah.
Yeah, it's going to be sick.
It's going to be way more than what it's going to double, triple, who knows what.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have this huge drought, or we are in a drought like the world is in a drought, but I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say when we get a lot of water.
Yeah. Winter is coming.
Hello.
Okay. So wait.
King of the North.
Jumping back. Do we have a second? Do we have a minute to just say? I just wanted to say.
No, yeah, go ahead. Whatever you want to say.
Aside from the drainage, the French drain and the dry well. Is that dry well? Is that what it's
called?
Yeah,
dry well.
Yeah, 10 for that. Is also maybe incorporating in your landscape a natural and yet attractive way to create like drainage with curves and contouring. So a dry riverbed. I've seen these in people's yards. They can look very, very nice. And it kind of mimics these dry riverbeds that you see in the mountains and maybe in the deserts as well. And then just below that, that could be your drain.
See, I've seen a video too that they called that like a permaculture.
Oh, right.
I could be off on this because I've heard permaculture kind of thrown around a little bit, and I'm never exactly sure what it is.
Yeah.
But one that I've seen was you have the dry riverbed, you have these natural plants that can handle the drought, and then they can handle the soils and everything, and you let them go, and they become this wild area of that is next to a building or whatever. So it's being fed naturally by the amounts of water and stuff. And I saw a YouTube video on it. It could be something else though.
So the cool thing about that is that there would just simply be very low maintenance. You're not out there with it. You're not out there trying to water a variety of a plant or tree that's not getting just that exact amount of water just simply through drainage.
It's a lot easier to control weeds when you're watering properly. So when you're controlling the water or you're letting the native, natural environment water your plants for you, it's kind of restricting those plants.
Suppressing the weeds.
Yeah, so if you have your mulches and you have those correct those planting principles, you can weed a lot less. Which I found that to be true. I don't have any weed barrier. People think it's crazy not to have weed barrier. There's no freaking weeds there. And I really don't weed that much. I mean, if I see a little one, I grab it, but I don't ever use herbicide because I'd be killing all my perennials.
Well, you'd be killing your earthworms too.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yep.
All right.
Drainage, dude. Rock on.
Get it on, Babylon. Okay. All right. Thanks, Brad.
Later, man.
All right. That was episode number 76. Drainage. I want to thank Brad for coming out and do this podcast with me. I want to thank you, the podlings, for listening. Thank you. We love you. You can find us on Facebook and join the Horticult Garden group. You can catch these podcasts live on video. We live stream these live. No shiz, Sherlock. We live stream these live. Yeah, come and join the Facebook group and you can tell us what you think. You can also find us. We have a YouTube channel. We have a Patreon, Facebook group, Instagram, all these fun things that we try to participate on, share things, show pictures of people, our guests. You can see a record of the guests, pictures of our guests that we've had on Instagram and Facebook. I just want to thank everybody for listening. This has been such a fun time, and me and Brad are so grateful for everyone that listens. See you next time. Plant on, Babylon.